back to another episode of Sexy Sips, where we explore the worlds of sexual health and intimacy with open minds and honest conversations. We are your hosts. I'm Alma, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Khushboo, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Kelly, and my pronouns are they, she.
I'm Seona, and my pronouns are she, they.
I'm Matilde, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Jackie, and my pronouns are she, her.
Today we will be discussing our experiences coming out in the BIPOC community. Can people from the panel tell us a little bit about your coming out experience?
Yeah, sure. I could start. So I initially came out to my brother probably like 6 years ago. He's a year older than me, so I felt really comfortable coming out to him, and he's like my best friend. And then I came out to my parents like 2.5 years ago, and I wasn't even planning on coming out. I was thinking about doing it after I graduated college, but I don't know, I was kind of just tired of like lying because my parents would keep asking if I was seeing anyone. And so one day I just did it, and thankfully they had a good reaction. So
I think the first person I ever came out to was my best friend in middle school. So I was like 13 maybe, and she took it really well. And then I started coming out slowly to like family members that I knew were like liberal or like okay with it. And then I came out to my mom right before college, and her initial reaction was I knew it. So I was like, okay. And then I told my dad about a year ago, and he had an interesting reaction. Neither of them really understood what bisexual meant. So they either thought polyamory was their first note, or that I just like was low-key a like chronic cheater. Because my dad's first response to me being bi was like, wait, but you can't cheat on anybody. So that was an interesting thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I did not come out until my senior year of high school. And yeah, I lived in like kind of like a small town, and no one was really gay, so it was just interesting. But I came out to like my best friends first, and they were all like very loving and very positive. And then when I came out to my sister, and she was like, whatever. And then but she was also like 10. And then I came out to my brother, and then he was also like kind of like whatever. And then like in a positive way. And then I was really nervous to come out to my parents. And then it's funny because my dad also, like, I'm a lesbian now, but I originally came out as bisexual. And his original thing was like, okay, like, I guess you can be dating a man and a woman at the same time. But how, he was like, Seona, how will that affect your career? Like, I was thinking about that. So, yeah, and then my mom was also, like, I was really nervous, but they both responded, like, just that they wanted me to be happy, which is really nice.
I feel like my story is a lot more chill than maybe everyone else's. I went to a really progressive middle school, like a private girls' school that was like a STEM school. And when they told us in sex ed, like what being gay and straight was, I was like, damn, like maybe I'm bi. Like I just don't want to restrict myself. So one day me and my mom were folding laundry, and I was like, Mom, I have something to tell you. I think that I'm going to start going, like, I think I'm going to be bi. And she went, girl, me too. And I was like, what? Like, well, you could have told me this earlier so I, like, knew about this stuff. And then, like, a few months later, I told my dad. He's like, I don't care. I voted for Obama. Like, I was like, okay. My parents are both pretty young and, like, hip or whatever. And so... and my mom is actually gay now and with a woman, and I'm also gay and with a woman, so I think things worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I came out in, like, my senior year of high school, I think, as well, and it was to, like, a few friends or something like that, and I went to an all-girls Catholic private situation, so it was a little bit interesting. Everybody was very accepting about it. It wasn't anything crazy, but the most common thread was, I'm not surprised, or I didn't expect it, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, that's like basically what my dad said too when I came out to him and my mom at the same time. But they're very supportive. Yeah.
I remember like my brother's first thing was like I came out as bi to him, and he was like, I'm surprised you're not a lesbian.
He clocked that.
I was like, okay, that's true. Like you have to give me a year to work on that. But
She knew you were lying.
Girl, just you wait.
I think coming out for me was a little bit of a multi-step process. I like knew I was at least bi in middle school, but it wasn't until my senior year of high school when I knew I was going to prom with a girl, And I didn't want it to be a surprise to my mom because she was coming. I went to like a boarding school, and so it gave me like a lot of room and time to explore myself, which was really nice. But it also was a little bit of a crutch because I didn't have to really tell her until it was absolutely necessary. So when I told her, she didn't really believe me. The first time she was like, yeah, like, I think I know you better than you know yourself, and this is just like a moment in your life. So I just accepted that as it was. And then my freshman year of college, I had to like attempt it again when I was in some sort of relationship with a woman, and she took it a lot better than I thought she would. I think sometimes with parents it takes a little bit of time and maybe multiple times of telling them for it to be like fully reinforced. But I think as time goes on, she like understands it more. So another question for the panel I have is, do you have any regrets or thoughts about how you went about coming out? Do you wish you had done anything differently?
I can start. This is like a really shallow, like no meaning behind it, like comment about it. Close enough. When I came out to my parents, it was like directly like maybe 5 minutes after I'd gotten home from my senior retreat in high school. It was a Catholic school, so we went to like this random location in Cape Cod, and they took away our phones for 5 days, and we like prayed all the time. And I got back and I was like, guys, I'm gonna come out to my family, like it's gonna be great. And I was so nervous, and I like got home before them, and then they came home, and I was just in the living room, like sitting on the floor with like about like probably like 25 jelly beans in my mouth, like just stress eating, and I just blurted out like, guys, I'm gay. And I like was like, I had all these jelly beans in my mouth. So I'd say the only thing that I would change about it was that I wasn't stress eating in the middle of it. So it was a little bit of comedic relief, though, I would say.
Yeah, I can go next. I think, like, I don't know. I, like, similarly, I let myself get really in my head about it. Like, my parents had never given me any reason to believe that they would respond negatively. But I think, like, I had these, like, stereotypes in my head of, like, I don't know, like, strict Indian parents, which, like, my parents are not strict in the slightest. Or, like, not. And, like, have always been, like, whatever, like, you do you. But I think I, like, let myself get in my head too much and, like, totally just, like, stress out for a really long time about, like, what I imagined their reactions would be like. So I wish I had kind of just, like, not let, like, perceptions and, like, and focus more on, like, who they were, and then realize, like, it would be fine. And then it was fine. And I didn't need to put myself through that stress.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, initially I wasn't going to come out till I was, like, 21, 22. And I just decided to randomly. And, like, I wish I had also, because similarly, they never gave me any reason to think that they were, like, homophobic or, like, unaccepting or, you know, like, they would make comments, you know, like, I am excited for you to have a husband or stuff like that, which, you know, isn't inherently, like, negative. But I wish I hadn't stressed about it so much, because I feel like I knew I liked girls when I was, like, 5, and then I fully knew I was, like, gay when I was, like, 12. So I feel like it took me such a long time to, like, come to terms with it myself, and then eventually start, like, telling friends and telling my brother and telling my parents. So I feel like I spent so much time, like, hiding this thing that after I did it like literally felt like a weight was off my shoulders.
Yeah. I personally don't have any regrets, but I also don't think, like, I could have gone about it any differently. I feel like the thing that was different for me than, like, from you guys is, like, my parents did give me a reason to be like, oh, I should be concerned about your reaction right now. But, like, I feel like I, like, took my time, faced it when I was ready, so I don't think I could have done anything differently. Yeah.
Yeah, I also had a similar situation. My mom definitely gave me reason to think that it was going to be an issue. I'm not sure if I could have done better in the circumstances. Sometimes I wish that the first time I attempted to come out that I had just waited until later, because now kind of looking at it, going to prom with a girl who was also, like, my best friend wasn't that big of, like, a gay indicator to her, like, wouldn't have been. I didn't really need to say anything, especially because she didn't like that particular individual, so I think it left a bad taste in her mouth of, like, what Alma being gay looks like. But I also wish that I would have been more serious about the way I felt. I kind of tried to sugarcoat it as in, like, oh, but I'll probably end up with a guy anyway, or like I'm bi, so it's kind of like not that deep. I wish I had been more strict about like this is how I feel and there's a good chance that like this is how it's going to be forever, because I think sometimes my mom is still like hanging on the hope that things will go the way she wants them to go.
I think in a similar vein to you, I mean, I had a really positive reception. I did not have anything to worry about, but I think one thing I do regret was that I was looking back, it kind of feels like I was in such a rush to define myself and to come out. And I don't actually think that anyone needs to come out ever if they don't want to. But for some reason, I was just very excited to be like, this is this new thing that I learned about that I'm like experimenting with, and I'm like really special and different. It wasn't really on my mind in a way that like I felt the need to be myself, and in order to be myself, I had to come out. It was more just like a fun, novel thing. But I think I struggled all throughout middle school and high school with flipping between being bi and being lesbian and being queer and being pan or being whatever. And there really is no, in my opinion, there is no rush in putting a label on yourself. And I wish I'd given myself some more time maybe after to like give myself grace around not having to stick with one thing when you're 16. Like, I didn't know anything about myself at 16 beyond the fact that I liked women. So, yeah.
That also just reminded me, like in terms of not just coming out to my parents, but to my peers in high school, I had to like come out multiple times because I was also in such a rush to be like, I'm totally a lesbian. And then I ended up like dating men in between, which was so embarrassing.
Literally me too. It was so embarrassing. I was like, wait guys, like wait, I changed my mind again.
I had to run it back. And that was really embarrassing. Not that it matters. It's okay to have to like come out multiple times because things can change or might not change at all like throughout your life. But I do wish I had slowed down a little bit because I didn't need to be like that determined about what I was when I was 14, because like what did I know? But it's okay. The next question is, what do you wish people understood about how being BIPOC impacts your experience or ability to come out?
I do actually have something to say. It might not match kind of like maybe what other people are thinking, but I think as a woman specifically, I feel like we're taught to be very concerned about how desirable we are or what we come off as or how attractive we are to men, specifically white men. I feel like I felt that pressure a lot being in a very white private school for both middle and high school. And I think being a queer woman of color really kind of puts a spotlight on you and makes you feel less adjacent to that power and to those things that you've been taught to kind of seek. And so I struggled a lot with kind of detaching myself from like the male gaze, especially as not just a queer woman, but like a queer woman of color in a white space.
Yeah, I think like adding on to that, it's hard because like you're already marginalized as a POC person, and like then you're coming out, and then like you're kind of adding to that. I also went to a very white high school. And like I was already feeling out of place, and then coming out would just, and I didn't really come out in high school at all, just to my friends and to my family, but like makes you just like so much more marginalized. And I think it's also really hard because like when I was saying earlier, like the regrets I had, I think the reason that I had that fear was because the only representation I had of being queer in a POC space was like really negative, and was like like horror stories that people would be like, oh, like X and Y are so like these types of people are like so homophobic or whatever. And that just like wasn't true in my case with my family, and I was really lucky for that. But also like I think it's like there was just like a lack of representation that just made it so much harder for me to come out than I think comparing myself to my white peers.
Yeah, I agree. I also feel like Latino culture, especially for me, made it really hard. Like traditional like machismo, which is like misogyny and like things like that, really impacted like who I was supposed to be versus who I was. Not just like sexuality wise, but also I'm like genderqueer. So my parents don't know that, and that's for a reason. So I feel like it definitely adds an extra set of like stigma that you have to overcome yourself or not at all. And it also, I think somebody mentioned this earlier, like further marginalizes you, but not just because of like the culture, but also because of like the language. Because like I couldn't even begin to like sit down and explain to my family what genderqueer means and how to use a they pronoun in Spanish. Like it's just not something that really occurs unless you're like of the younger generation, and on top of that, like aware of what's happening. So I don't know, I just feel like it adds an extra level of things. And also something else is like I've talked to friends, or I like had a partner once that was like, oh, like, yeah, I like never came out, I don't need to come out, which I think is valid. I feel like you shouldn't need to come out. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing that's like, oh, like it's because it's like normal to be gay, so why do I have to come out? But I feel like I don't, like I feel like it's a privilege to be able to say that, like, oh, I don't have to come out and it's no big deal, I can just like bring a girl home. And I'm just like, I think my parents would have had a heart attack if I had just like pulled up and been like, hey, this is my girlfriend, by the way. Like, yeah. So
I think one thing that I stressed about, like, before coming out and even, like, now is, like, just being part of, like, the South Asian community. So, like, not just, like, my extended relatives that, like, live in India, but, like, the South Asian community that we've kind of built, like, in New York. Like, coming out to them is something that I'm still, like, I don't know how that's going to go. And, like, I don't want people to, like, perceive my parents negatively or, like, my family negatively. But it's just something that's, like, going to occur because, you know, like, my brother's a year older than me. Like, at his wedding, we're going to have, like, all the people that we know in New York, like, there. And, you know, we're close in age, so I'm sure people are going to ask, like, oh, like, when are you getting married? Like, do you have a boyfriend? And stuff like that. So I've kind of procrastinated, like, feeling about that because I feel like I don't necessarily have to think about it right now. But that's definitely something that, like, comes along with being, like, a POC and queer, like, not just thinking about, like, your parents, but, like, your extended family and, like, the communities that they're a part of and, like, how it's going to reflect on them, not just you.
I would second that. I think coming from an Asian culture, but probably any type of ethnic culture in the U.S., there is such a stress on perception, like the idea of, like, Chinese saving face. So I've, like, talked about with my mom recently that there would just be no possibility of me ever coming out to, like, her siblings. Like, my grandparents aren't around anymore, but if they were, they could just never know. I was trying to imagine, like, a situation in which I'm having a wedding that other people in my family could even be invited to, because, especially because my mom is a single mom and I'm the only child. Like, I am her lineage, I represent her, and there would be such a fear for me around, like, labeling her that way, I guess. Like, it would be like Jessica, like, the mother of the lesbian. Like, that's how it would be in our family because it would be labeled that way. I think I also felt a lot of guilt about that. There was definitely times in high school and even, like, my first year of college where I was thinking to myself, like, can I just fly by, like, only being with men forever so I don't have to cause this, like, stress in our family? That way, like, she can live her life and not have to have that embarrassment, like, answering to her family. So I definitely felt guilty about that. Like, damn, like, my own personal life choices are really going to affect the way that she's seen by her relatives.
Yeah, I feel that as well. Maybe in a little bit of a different light, but my dad is Haitian and my mom is Italian, so the Italian family, they're super accepting. Like, my grandma had, like, 3 or 4, like, gay friends that she would always have over, and they would have tea and they would chat. And, like, it was, like, totally fine and normal. But my dad, like, my grandparents on that side, they passed away a long time ago. And, you know, from being, like, from a black family, like, that wasn't necessarily normal to them. And I'm not sure, like, he never really talks about, like, what they would say about, you know, people in the gay community back then. But when I first came out to him, it was a little bit rough. He's definitely, like, much more improved now. But I remember one time in the car, like, on the way home from school, he was saying something like, oh, like, Jack, like, you're so lucky, like, you get to be, like, this, like, beautiful, like, woman, person of color, like, thank God you're not gay. And I was like, little do you know. Yeah, you just wait a couple of years and you'll find out. But, like, he didn't say it in, like a negative way, like, just, like, he, like was generally, like, thank God you're not gay, because, like, that would make your life so much harder. Yeah. And I think that for both of my parents, but especially my dad, he really worries about me because I think he sees the, like, kind of negative light that he may have seen, like, me in for, like, a short period of time. when I first came out to him, just about like being gay and like what that means, and like that means other people have those views as well, and like that's on top of being a woman and a person of color as well. So yeah,
I
definitely
think,
stressful.
Yeah, like when I came out, I remember like my dad especially being like, oh, like, but like how will this like affect you like long term? Like how will this affect like how you're seen and like how you're able to be successful in life? And I think like thankfully now he's like, I don't know, I think my parents also have a little bit of a different view because my mom is Muslim and my dad is Hindu. So like when they got married, like that was kind of like a big deal to the point where I was like, Mom, like I'm gonna marry a woman. She's like, well, I married a Hindu and like I think that was a bigger deal than this will be. So she's like, whatever, you're not special. Like I already broke the rules. But like I think like it's still like the, you know, the idea of like perception. And, like, what will people think of you? And, like, will you still be able to, like, succeed and live your best life? Even though, like they're always kind of telling me, like, oh, I'm just worried about, like, when you leave the Tufts bubble of, like, what, like, how life will treat you.
I think it makes me feel really bitter sometimes because then I look at, like, other populations on campus who are very privileged in a lot of ways that maybe we as a group do not get to experience. Like a white man in finance will never have to put the same amount of weight into thinking about how will I be perceived, how will that affect my security and my happiness and my life. Like they don't have that, and if they did, I would be surprised. And I think it's just, it adds so much more complexity to your daily life that you carry around those thoughts that you can't really get rid of because it's not about you, it's about societal messaging.
Yeah. Even like, oh, sorry.
You go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, even my queer white friends.
Yeah.
Like, there's like just such a big difference there, and I'm like, sometimes I can't really put my finger on it and like say exactly what it is, but it's like, yeah, like I was raised as a minority racially, and like you weren't, so there's just like, yeah.
I was literally gonna say the same thing. And also that, oh my gosh, it's gone.
Oh no.
Floated away into the wind. Pause.
Well, I was going to say, well, you think that, like, everyone loves Ellen, right? Everyone loves Neil Patrick Gaiman.
Yeah.
Everyone loves, like, all those. But then you think about the ones, it's like, oh, well, you're gay and you're a person of color. I don't know about that. It's too much.
And that used to be a good thing. Like today's climate, like, this is bad. Like, if you want to get into the job market, this isn't, like, a benefit to you being, like, a person of color. And you're, like, going into STEM and you're gay, like, sign me on, like, diversity hire. But now it's like, no, get away. So, it's like, now it's just, like, even worse. I feel like.
We're going backwards.
We're going back, yeah.
I think, like, one more thing I have to add to that is, like, the intersection of religion. I don't know how many of you also have that experience, but my mom, she's not, like, she was born here. Like, definitely still has a lot of proximity to her Chinese culture, but is also, or used to be, like, very devout Christian. I have to say, like, since I came out, she's definitely, like, taken a step back from the church, which is nice. But I think the combination of those two is pretty lethal, because I think for ethnic communities as well, church and religion can be such a particular, like, concentrated space. And so then there's that element of causing shame on two levels. It's like, damn, my family had this dream to come here and to be perceived in a certain way. Like, I would think that, at least for my family, part of living the American dream is being seen as American, like being seen as the successful American family, and to have, like, a lesbian running around in that mix really
grab her. Grab that lesbian.
really dampens the dream. So there's that part, and then there's the shame of, like, wow, you're just, like, a terrible Christian. Like, you're neither, like, the right image of, like, a Chinese person for our family or, like, a Christian. I think, yeah, like, the intersection of those two was definitely tough for me. And then also feeling like I kind of stole that dream from my mom in a sense, where it's like she's come this far to make me the person I am and has this envisionment of what my life is going to be, like the white picket fence, and how many times I've heard, like, as long as it's a good Christian man, I don't care who he is, as long as he's a good Christian man. Well, actually, those are quite a few parameters. I don't think you're going to get it. Okay. And then the last question I have is, do you have any words of advice for someone who wants to or is planning on coming out to their friends, family, or community?
I can start. My dad has always said this to me ever since I was a kid: the truth will set you free. And I think that's very true. And yeah, when I told him, that's what I literally said to him. I was like, yeah, the truth will set me free, right? And he like laughed, and he was like,
Didn't expect this truth.
Did not expect this truth. But yeah, no, we're all good now, and we've talked about that before, and I was literally like, yeah, I was just like following your advice, and he's like, I'm glad you did, because like, how do you feel? I feel free. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Just be honest with yourself and the people around you, and when you're ready, yeah, don't take shit from anybody.
I think I'll like also share like a piece of advice from like my mom. I think this past year has been a little bit hard for me to like grapple with my gayness, because like all of my cousins are getting engaged and married right now, which is like super fun for them. But then I'm just
Stressful for you.
super fun for them, and I'm like so just like overjoyed. And at the same time, like, well, shoot, like, will my grandparents come to my wedding? And then, you know, telling my mom about it, and she has just always told me that like the onus is on the older generation to, you know, accept the changing world, and that like their love for you will hopefully like push them to accept it, and if not, like, it's on them, it's not on you. So just like, yeah, like a positive reaction from the people you love isn't guaranteed, and I think like I know that and I live with that a lot, but like also the fact that like it's not my job to make them happy, my job is to like make me happy, and the onus is on them to accept change.
I guess like one thing that I have like kind of tried doing throughout college and like I guess the end of high school was trying to like normalize it. So like I just started work like a couple months ago, and like I work in finance. Like I have a really white team, so it's like probably not the most accepting crowd like you'd see on the surface, but like from the time I started work, like I immediately would start just like dropping like, oh yeah, like my girlfriend goes to Tufts, or like my girlfriend blah blah blah, my girlfriend blah blah blah, which is maybe annoying at times, but like I feel like it made them like really like open and like receptive, that like I treated this as something that's not like a huge secret or something bad or like something that like I deserve to be judged by, but just like another factor of like my life. And I feel like that's kind of made it like really like, I guess, like calm with them. Like they'll like ask me about her. They'll ask me about like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to Boston this weekend to see my girlfriend. And they're like, oh, that's so much fun. Like, what are you guys doing? And so I feel like just approaching the topic from something that it's like not meant to be like a bad thing has made it be like perceived as something that's like very normalized.
I think I have two. So like one is like, I feel like especially if you know your parents have given you reason to doubt, just like accepting and loving yourself and your identity enough to not, I mean, it's going to affect you. Like if they like react badly, it's going to affect you, but like to not let that rejection put doubt in yourself or shame in yourself and like in who you are, and like not letting that impact like you coming out to somebody else, because that is a whole other person. And then another thing is something I had to learn recently, and it's just like sometimes you kind of also have to be prepared and keep in mind that they might accept it in theory but not in practice, because I feel like my parents, like, they reacted pretty well when I was like, yeah, I'm bi, like I could bring a girl home, and then like in practice when I actually did, like that was not a pleasant experience, and there was backlash, and like there is still some tension there from when that happened. So I feel like just kind of like preparing yourself for like they'll see you, but like how much they'll see you, I don't really know, if that makes sense. Like they'll see it and they'll understand it, but like I feel like you can kind of have to prepare yourself for like they might not really understand it till it happens in front of them. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
It makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Totally.
I think I have like a couple things to say on this point. Like, first of all, yes, it is completely a privilege to come out. Definitely be decisive about it. There were times in my life where I felt like am I still going to be safe? Am I still going to be able to live here in this home and have a functional relationship with my parents if I come out? If you're feeling that way, maybe don't. Like, you don't have to. And first and foremost, like, your safety, and in my opinion, I think the overall structure of the relationship with your parents is more important, because there's time to, like, find a way to come out. And then also, I would say, like, also advice to my younger self would be to be patient. Especially when I was a teenager, I just wanted my mom to accept it right away, which was completely unrealistic because, I mean, obviously it is my life and I deserve to be happy. Everyone deserves to be happy. But I also think I didn't fully understand that in a way I was taking something from her and she needed time to accept that this, like, dream that she had of what my future was going to look like was now maybe not happening. And she definitely needed time to accept that. And I think as time has passed and I've gotten older, I've come to really appreciate the little things. Like, I think to someone else it might seem like she doesn't accept it, like when she'll say certain things, or I can kind of tell that she still thinks at the end of the day, like, I will end up with a man. But to me, that doesn't mean that no progress has been made at all. It's just, like, the little things, like being able to talk to her about my relationship, like having her meet my girlfriend, like those things are huge steps. And I think in a process like this, you just have to take the small wins.
I think going to a more, like, a larger scale, that there have been people like us for forever. You know, our stories are not unique in terms of, like, we have existed before. Our stories have existed before. Suffering and joy and life that is queer has happened before us. And living in a pretty queer environment. I'm from Seattle. My mom is gay. I've had the privilege of speaking with and having, friends of family who are older queer people who have come from really terrible backgrounds, heartbreaking backgrounds, and have learned to survive and thrive and love themselves. And the stories that I hear are just so inspiring. And I think that there's just an element of hope in recognizing that you are just one person in an entire community of people who threw the first brick at Stonewall, and people who we have so many people to look up to. And so that gives me so much hope when I feel so in despair.
Thank you so much to the panel. And for listeners, I hope this is helpful. I really wish I had this resource when I was 14. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Sexy Sips.